Howdy. Welcome to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It is presented by Capital Farm Credit. Capital Farm Credit, the largest agricultural lender in Texas. Capital Farm Credit, together we're better. We're the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Jimbo Fisher. I'm Andrew Monaco. We kick this off from Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here at College Station. Howdy, Coach.
Howdy.
It is good to be with you. That long off season, we get to play on Saturday. I know there's been a lot going on, but now the excitement builds because the games matter on Saturday. Correct?
Yeah, they do. I mean, this is one of the 12 opportunities. That's what you work your whole year for, and that's what the kids work the whole year for to get these 12 opportunities. So you got to make them special. Jimbo,
how was camp for this team this year?
Hot. It was hot, but it was good. Really, as I said earlier, the young guys and the old guys, I thought there was a great mix. I thought the old guys set a tempo, and I thought the young guys accepted and really fit in and worked and wanted to become one of the team. I thought the older guys accepted those guys as one of the team, and hopefully we built some more depth and got better because of that. I thought all three phases were really good as far as, each had their days of highs and lows, which is typical, and your bumps and bruises, but learning but I think came together really well. That was the big thing in camp. You get your base fundamentals in, become technically better. Hopefully you're more disciplined in what you're trying to do, learn how to play with great effort, great toughness, mental and physical, and then you got to bond. You got to become one and accept that role as a team.
You have to do it then the young players have to learn to do it, okay, on Thursday, I got to do it again on Friday, and then do it again on Saturday, right? There's all the excitement of day one of camp, correct?
Well, it is, and it's just like game preparation. Mm-hmm. I mean, those guys, the young guy, when you're a young player and you've been very talented, sometimes you don't always have to practice hard. You know what I'm saying? But in this league, in this world, at this level, you have to develop each and every day. If not, someone's passing you up. And I think learning that work ethic, learning that tempo, learning that culture, I think is very big for them.
You said this very early. Competition eliminates complacency.
Exactly.
Compete. You saw a lot of compete out there in the fall camp, didn't you?
We did. And like I say, some guys moved up, some guys moved down. Each day, I always tell them, every game 0-0, every day 0-0. Mm-hmm. And who's going to come and put in and stack the most days together? And that's the goal. It's not, they said, well, he can do it. He can. But there's a lot of people that never played football or play pro football that, walked away from it that could. But they're not making that commitment that they can do it each and every day. And to me, it's how many days in a row can you stack together? You know what I mean? And you start a streak and you do it, and then you build it higher and higher. And to me, that's what builds your mental toughness, mental capacity to compete, the ability to overcome adversity. And that's what it all gets down to. It's all great when it's going good. What are you going to do when it's not going right? Where's that fortitude? Where's that inner strength? Where's all that work? Where's that desire? Where's all those characteristics? And that's what we'll find out.
And that's where your leadership comes in. I was thinking back to my time with the Spurs. Greg Popovich calls it corporate knowledge. So when your freshmen become sophomores, sophomores become juniors, juniors become seniors, and there's that leadership, you no longer have to tell them. Your coaches don't have to. Their teammates are now telling them, are they not?
Is that right? No, it is. It is. I mean, it is that way.
It took you 9 minutes.
But at least, and you also have to learn to accept that role. You also, some guys who really lead and want to do everything right, but don't always understand how to lead. You know what I'm saying? How to go about it. That's a process, too. It's not just, actually because you become older, that all of a sudden you're in charge. You know what I'm saying? Some guys do it by example. Some guys can do it verbally. Some guys can do it in all kinds of ways. And I think that's a growing process, too, which was great to see our older guys take.
And you've mentioned the timing is important as well, is it not?
It is. I mean, the timing and when to say it, what not to say, and when to apply. I heard Isaiah Rakes the other day, and you were telling the story, too. I mean, you hear him all the time. McKinley, I notice those two on defense constantly. Damani, I see Anias on our side. All right, you can see it once you go off the field sometimes when the day's over. And those young, I know right here I should have picked it up. But those guys identify it as it's going on, and that's the key. And you have to. That's why your leaders are so important. They can identify issues as they're starting to happen, or sometimes before those characteristics of how things go and what things go. And then, hey guys, I know we've been out here a long time. We better refocus again. And even if they're not, to remind those guys, hey, let's get locked back in. It's going to be another long process right here. And how they do that. And so a lot of those guys were really starting. I see. My dad always said, close the barn door before the horse gets out. You know what I'm saying? It takes you a lot of leg time. You know what I'm saying? And those guys, older guys, you can start to see, and you kind of know where those issues start to come in practice because there was those long periods, those physical periods, those hot periods, and I think they did a really good job of that.
Yeah, I think I told you the story. I love watching Good on Good because I just think I think the team
and we do it.
And it is very good.
It's the only way you get better.
It's the only way. And the day before, defense had its way. And then the next day, it was the offense. And you mentioned Isaiah Rakes. As he walked off the field, Jimbo, he brought everybody else back on the defensive field and on the Coolidge practice fields, and he said, that's not our standard, and let's get back to work. And to me, there's a guy who he's been in crunch time, right? He's been in the crux of games, the guts of game.
And
he has been there.
And they
all
too.
Listened. Yeah.
And see, the reason that happened the day before, the offense was good, and Nias called them together on offense. Hey, boys, that ain't the way we do things. And that's the standard. That's how you grow and you build. But you know, what young guys don't understand, and I always say when you have great respect, and even if you may not understand what's going on totally and believe everything, just go full speed, because you know what? Those older guys' their clock's already ticking. There's not much time left. They have only a couple years, 1 year, 2 years, 3, to reach the goals and aspirations they have. And that's the thing about a team that sometimes, you know, I always said this. I didn't always understand what was going on at home. Sometimes, Mom, just do it because I said so. Nowadays, you got to have a 30-minute explanation. Why? When I used to get why, I get smacked inside the head. But you know, you can't get guys to understand it, and the urgency of young guys. And I think that's where those older guys step in, and I think that's where we're starting to get. I mean, that's always. I don't care what team I've ever been on in my life. That's always a work in progress. Mm-hmm. But the more of them just keep jumping into that boat.
He's Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, who take on Sam Houston on Saturday, 11 o'clock at Kyle Field. We will continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. Come on back. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Barker's Heating and Cooling is proud to be the official heating and cooling provider for Aggie Athletics. Earning your seal of approval since 1979, a lot has changed since then. But our pride in Aggie football and our commitment to providing great service remains as strong as ever, Barker's says. Gig 'em, Aggies. We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's Farm Credit, and we are at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. If you're watching on the Texas A&M football Facebook page, thank you. A couple of questions coming in from there. We've got questions as well from everyone. So before we get to Saturday, Jimbo, Preston wants to know, what do you do for fun in the off-season? And off-season was in quotation marks.
I don't know if there is an off-season anymore.
There's no off-season in college football
I don't know if there is an off-season
longer.
anymore. There is. I mean, the way recruiting is now, I'm serious. It is. It's even more strenuous than it's ever been at any time in college football. I mean, believe that or not, as much hours we used to go, because of the way recruiting is now on the weekends. Besides the basically the 3 weeks you get in the summer, those 3 weekends, and then a little bit in February, because they make it dead on those months. There's recruits on campus every week, so it's a lot though. I mean, but spend time with the kids, spend time with the family. Go home, visit West Virginia a couple of weeks. I could go home and drive and get on the tractor. How about that? That's rest and relaxation. Huh? It is good therapy. It is good therapy. Yeah. And then take a little trip. Then take a little trip with family. Good. Do those kind of things. But I mean, you don't do a lot. I mean, and when the kids are here in town, we may hunt, fish a little bit. That's about it. Nice. You said something today in your office. You still get the butterflies. 35th year of coaching, and you still get butterflies. That's fantastic. Yeah, it's always something you want to do well. You want to do well. You want your team to do well. You want the coaches around you to do well. You want the players to do well, and you want to do well for them. You know what I mean? You want to make sure you give them the best possible chance to be successful, because it's kids' dreams. Yeah. I always look at it that way. You know what responsibility you have to them. You get on them, you push them, but you have a responsibility to make them ready, because this is their time that they worked their whole life for, and you got to do a good job for them. You added to your coaching staff. You bring in Steve Adazio. He is with the offensive line. You bring in DJ Durkin and Jimbo. It's got to be exciting to be able to bring in talent like that on your coaching staff. I mean, guys that want to coach, guys that have been parts of great teams, high successful. Steve's won multiple national championships, been a head coach before. Tremendous mind, tremendous things to bounce things off of. Tremendous line coach. I mean, does a great job with those guys. Physical, tough, hard, fundamental. The things you got to have. Very intelligent, smart, great prep. I mean, hard worker, great preparation, detailed. I'm looking forward to watching them play. DJ's same way. Very knowledgeable, very well-rounded. Guys love him, but at the same time, he's tough, understands schematically different schemes, and can take different kinds of talent and put him in position. Different places he's been. The schemes have been 4 down 3. I mean, different things based off your talent, and that's what good coaches do. And I think he's done a great job at that. Is it nice to coach with them and no longer having to coach against them? Oh yeah, we always make that list of guys when you're guys you went against, do it. You have great respect for and how they do things and the way they do things, and when you get an opportunity, because listen, openings are inevitable. Mm-hmm. Guys are going to improve. Guys are going to get promotions. Guys are going to leave. That's just the nature of the beast. And you got to make sure you get the same kind of guys in place. Well, I can tell you that Philip Lee did his homework. He has his homework completed, and it's going to be the first question. Yeah.
You happy with the development of our freshman tight ends, and do you plan to utilize any of them this week?
Yeah, they're going to have to play. I mean, they're going to have to play. All three of those guys have done a good job. Donovan and Jake have really jumped out there. Theo is growing in this game. He's going to be a talented guy, man. He's learning. But, Donovan and Jake have really got lots of reps, tons of time in what they're doing, and going to be really good players. And, they're going to have to play. I mean, they're in that rotation. They got to play.
The freshmen push the upper class, make the upperclassmen better. There's no, Jimbo, going out there and watching practice, I just don't see the same players any longer. What I mean by that, they've all seemed to add something. Chase Lane looks stronger. They're upset on defense if they don't get that turnover. Like, they're really mad at themselves. Bigger, stronger, faster.
Yep.
I know a lot of the focus goes on the freshmen, but you like that effect on the entire team.
I mean, I think Red's done a tremendous job in their weight room and development of those guys, and you have to play that way. And those guys have to get better. I mean, good enough is never good enough. You got to continue to grow, or somebody's going to pass you up. Growth is inevitable, man. You got to do it or not, and you have to grow that way, and not only physically, but mentally, emotionally. I think emotion is the big part, especially with kids today, because they dealing with failure, frustration. It's just, the old days. It's just everybody wants that instant gratification, and we want it more and more and more in this generation. And I think it's easier. Listen, there's no easy way to be great. There's no easy way to win. Never has been.
No shortcut.
I mean, you can get all these new technologies. You can do everything in the world. You can get every computer. You can get every tech. Tell you this, how fast, how high you jump. You still got to play the game. And great athletes. Because you're a great athlete doesn't mean you're a great football player. Football, it's the game deep down hasn't really changed. The rules have changed. We've said this has changed. But the same kind of person, the same kind of characteristics, the same kind of guts, desire, toughness, whatever you want to call it, never changes. And there's no easy way to do that. So you either do it or you don't. And
you will find out on Saturday, as you say, when the lights are on the scoreboard and they're counting the points. You're going to see the reaction of your players. Yeah, hopefully. And we develop good habits, because that's what's going to come out. Your habits are going to come out. And, that's why you're nervous as a coach in those first games. They have to be the question every day, which group you feel the best about, which group you feel the other about. I said, yeah. I mean, you don't ever know. I mean, it's inevitable. And you had all this experience back. Well, yeah, and sometimes experience can put pressure on itself. Sometimes experience can grow that way. Sometimes young guys say, well, they're young, they don't know. Well, sometimes – I always said ignorance is bliss sometimes. Sometimes you don't know you don't know. And sometimes you can go – you don't ever know to what's going to happen each and every year. Because you play great one year doesn't mean – hopefully you grow. But, as a coach, I've learned that over time. And, you got to go out there and play. And some guys you thought may have struggled doing camp, all of a sudden, man, they get out there and the lights come on. They start playing and doing things, like you thought they would be consistently. So – that's what happened in the first games. And those are the things you like to do in the spring camp as well as in the fall. To give you an idea. Yeah, as much as you possibly can, because you got to try to train them for those situations as much as you possibly can, and then inevitably you got to let them go. I love something that Layden Robinson said on Monday when he met with the media. He said you have to trust in your teammates that they're going to do their jobs, but more importantly, you have to trust in yourself to win your, as you always say, win your space, win your battle. That's something I try to pound in them all the time. We believe in the trust for the guy and all that stuff. The hardest person to trust is yourself. People say, well, why would that be? Well, you can't blame it. You can't blame it on nobody else. You either do it or you don't. You either get it done or you don't. And the guy in the mirror knows the truth. You know what I mean? And when you hit that point, that's when you can start affecting people around you. I always say great players on great players, they affect the other guys around them on the team. But to affect guys, you got to know who you are. And you got to be able to trust who you are. So, why guys don't want to be able to say, well, leaders and why ain't that guy? Sometimes they want to do it 4 days out of the week, not 5, not 6. You know what I mean? And it takes special guys to do that. And that's what you inevitably got to do. And that goes from trust from within yourself to know what you're going to bring to the table each and every day. He's Jimbo Fisher, head coach, fighting Texas Aggies. Aggies, Sam Houston, Saturday, 11 o'clock at Kyle Field. We'll join you on the network at 10 o'clock with our St. Joseph Health pregame show. Again, that is on Saturday. We'll continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Rudy's is a proud sponsor of Aggie Football. Be sure to stop by your local Rudy's or Rudy's.com for some real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoked meats, delicious sides, and Rudy's signature sauce. Don't forget, Rudy serves breakfast tacos every day until 10 a.m. We also want to remind you that Texas A&M Athletics has launched the free 12th Man Rewards Program. It is back. It thanks fans 13 and older for standing with the 12th man to create a home field advantage for our student athletes and the coaches. And if you check in from the coaches' shows, you will get points in 12th Man rewards. We continue with the head coach, Jimbo Fisher. It's the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. We learned last week as we were announcing 23 new suites in the south end zone, we also learned that 37,000 Aggies students will be yelling for you every home game. And you turned to me and you said, you realize there's not even 37,000 on some campuses, yet they are sold out to this season.
It's amazing. 37,000 student tickets sold out. I mean, that's bigger than a lot of universities. I mean, and our whole universities do it, and there was a race to get them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's just – the support of that 12th man and those kids is unbelievable. What they do, how they do it, and what makes A&M special. And we owe it to them to put a great team on the field.
I want to take this opportunity. An Aggie, and he is a Bryan native as well. But after 27 years as the director of sports field for Texas A&M Athletics, Craig Potts, tonight was his last day.
Wow.
You touched on it on Monday. Jimbo, you take for granted, but it's the best field. I'm not even going to say in the SEC.
I want to know who. I want to make sure they got the right guy.
It's Nick McKenna.
Okay.
Who you've seen?
Yes.
You've seen Olsen Field at Bluebell Park, and Nick has also been the last 2 years the Field of Dreams in Iowa. He's been part of that. Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, I mean, and you don't realize how important. I mean, it's an overlooked thing, and how important your field's got to be in the terrain and what you're playing on and how you're playing in the footing and just the and it sends a message. How every detail of everything is, and those fields are as good as anywhere I've ever been in my life. Now, I mean, that's nothing against anybody else, but I mean, they're immaculate. I mean, in the practice fields, the game fields, if there's something there, you call and immediately it's fixed, it's done, and you don't realize this. I mean, you got a player out there, say he's a first-round draft pick, and he, in his career can make $150, $200 million. All of a sudden, he steps in a bad field, and then his career is over because there's a bad field, there's a hole, there's not good turf. And you don't think about those things. I always tell people, when you have those horses, those famous race horses, I mean, if they get a hangnail, you don't run them. But if it's wet, if it's this, if it's that. In football, we play in a lot of things. And you out there on the field, if we're recruiting right, you may have 40, 50 NFL players out there. Well, think of the amount of money that those guys could earn and could all go away on one step in one hole, one foot on a bad piece of grass or whatever. And we go out there every day. We don't have that issue, man. It was as good as I've ever been a part of.
No, and it's not just Kyle Field. It's the Coolidge practice fields.
Oh, it's everything that we touch.
Yeah. Centennial campaign as well, revisiting something from earlier, the new facilities that will be coming in. Tip of the cap to Wayne Roberts, to Adam Sin, to Jay Graham.
David Coolidge
as well. You're getting the
David
Bright.
Watts. I mean, it goes on and on.
The Bright
and on.
Slocum complex. Wayne has selflessly he wants coach's name.
That's his
on
middle
there.
name. Wayne Selfless.
That's exactly right.
Robert, huh?
I mean, it's exciting though, Jimbo, with what is happening.
Well, it is, and it's just you want to go with what's going on, but it's at the end of the day, everybody says it's not for us coaches. It's for those kids. Mm-hmm. It's for the future kids of A&M. It's for the players of A&M, the program of A&M, the message it sends, and how good they want them to be. And those guys are selfless, and they give so much of their time, so much, of course, of their money and everything else. Jay and those guys, and David and Adam, and I mean, it's just ridiculous. And what they do and how they do it, and it's almost to a point. It's not endless, but I mean it is. It's just whatever you need when you need it, and that's why A&M again is very special.
Yeah, and across the way, Aggie Park. You talk about Wayne selflessly. It's for Shannon, right? That park. The Creamery opened today as well. So Creamery back on Texas A&M, but just that entire atmosphere as well makes Saturday really special.
It's going to grow, and I mean every aspect of everything you touch at A&M. They want to do it right, and it's going to be beautiful. That park's going to be unbelievable,
gorgeous, and it's not just a Saturday thing.
No, that's every day.
I'm so happy for the students that
the students are living it every day, and the people and the visitors and the old Ags coming back and seeing and visiting, and just you get a great feeling about it.
Yeah, you're not going to catch a little Robert Earl Keen on Friday, are you?
Huh?
You going to catch a little Robert Earl Keen concert on Friday? I know you're a little busy, but
I'll be a little bit. I'll be too locked in.
Actually, speaking of busy, you're busy up until Saturday, right? You're going to be speaking. You got what A&M club? You got yell practice. You got everything. I mean, it does. It's. But hey, that means people care. I mean, what you do is relevant, and if people care about what you're trying to do, and you want to do a good job for everybody. Jimbo, it always comes.
It's all part of it.
You said it about Aggies, genuine.
That's the easiest way to put it.
Yeah.
And they're real people. You know what I mean? And that to me, that's the greatest compliment you can ever get as a person.
We have your check-ins from Facebook. We will get to those and more about the Aggies and Sam Houston. That's coming up on Saturday. We'll continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We're at Rudy's. Stay with us. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Howdy, Aggies Andrew Monaco here, inviting y'all to visit Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill. Baja-style Mexican, made from scratch daily, serving breakfast, tacos, lunch, and dinner. Aggie-owned and operated in South College Station. That's our friend Holly is down there owning that one. They are checking in from Salina, from Greenville, from downtown Austin. I love that. Lubbock, Deer Park, Cypress, Burleson, Grafton, West Virginia.
Wow.
Midlothian, Virginia. Military in California, Tennessee, North Carolina, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Lafayette, Louisiana. Ronnie's checking in from Japan.
Wow.
And Effie is checking in from Australia. Effie Constantino. We knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, I know it's funny. I was going to say, where's Australia at? I was getting worried. Thought they got mad at me.
Waiting that one till the end. And Jimbo turned to the special teams. We'll get to the offense and the defense, but you have a new kicker who's been around the program, and Caden Davis. But you got Nick Constantino. You have Connor Choate. You know how important special teams are, and it's really nice to have.
Yeah, we are. We got depth there. I mean, and quality guys. And Nick has had an outstanding camp. I mean, he is one of the hardest working guys I've ever been around. I mean, very conscientious. You talk about leadership there too. Now you talk about Wired Right does everything right. He's unbelievable. Caden's had a really good camp. Kicked it. Mr. Bonds had a really good camp. Kicked the ball really well. Done a great job. And of course, Connor Choate's done a good job. And so had Jacob Graham. I mean, you know, we always talk about backup kickers and punters. I worry about snappers because nobody else can do that job. You know what I mean? It's a tough one, and Jacob's really made himself into a heck of a player too. So Connor is outstanding. Great job leading, doing what he's doing. Caden, those guys, that's a very mature group, and I'm going to tell you what, has a lot of presence. You know, I've been on teams where kickers are great kickers, but they kind of just stay to themselves, which no problem. These guys have a lot of presence. They're good athletes, you know what I'm saying? And the team really respects them and loves them, and they have a lot of leadership.
Jimbo, I see that throughout your entire team. There's not cliques of the offense is just with the offense, defense is with the defense, special teams. When it's a break time, they're all getting together in these different groups. It's a group that really seems to like one another.
They are, and you got to understand, you got to learn to be around people you're not used to being around, and part of your team doing things. We set the locker room up like that. We try to do things to make guys interact a little differently, and because, you know, human nature is to, you know, hang around people that do things like you want to do or you feel comfortable with. But, you know, and it's not that you don't like anybody. It's more that people are shy. What most people don't understand is when they're not intermingling, it's not that they don't want to. They just don't want to offend anybody or say anything to anybody. But it's amazing once you get to know them, you know, it's all good, and you got to be part of that on the team.
Yeah, and you wonder why you were shy in the first place.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Friendships.
Exactly right.
You had, as I told you in your office today, or asked you in your office today, you had 22 battles, competition for this team. Obviously, the one that gets the most spotlight is at quarterback, but you are set there in Haynes King, Max Johnson, Connor Wigman.
Well, we have
I'm going to add Stowers and Boast as well.
Well, and I do, and I say those battles can go in any direction, and with if any of those guys were out front, you know, you'd feel comfortable with it too, because they all can play and do things. So that takes there. They're all growing. They're going to get better. They'll continue to grow, and they have to. All three of them, not just when you say, well, the backups got. Well, no, the starter's got to keep getting better. He's got to keep growing. Because how you know if you don't, the other guy can take your job. Like I say, every job is open all the time. You know, and it's not saying the guy's looking over his shoulder, but you have to understand it. People are trying to take your job every day, and you have to meet a standard that makes you progress, and you have to keep doing things. And you know, there's going to be little mistakes. There's going to be things you do well. Keep enhancing both of them. You know what I'm saying? And what you do, and your leadership, and then your performance. And right now, everybody talks about quarterbacks and leadership. Man, I just let them play. They need to go out there and play. But those guys all do a good job of leading.
That's fun to see a healthy Haynes King.
Yeah,
it's fun to see Max in maroon.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Max is a heck of a player, and so isn't Connor. I mean, the guys are special, man.
Yeah,
and you know, and they're competitive, and like I say, none of them they all want to play.
Yeah,
but you know, doing a great job as team roles, but they're not content being there, and that's what you want, because again, that eliminates complacency.
Is there something, Jimbo, to Haynes being a coach's son and Max being a quarterback's son, that they bring a little intangible with them?
Well, I think it does, but you know, but Connor has them too. So
yeah.
Connor has them too.
Yeah.
So I mean, he gets it. I mean, I just think guys, when you're either in that quarterback position, you get it or you don't. I mean, you talk about physical skills and all those things. We get so caught up in those, but people don't realize the intangibles it takes to be a quarterback. And there's multiple. And each guy, there may be 20, 25 things out there that can happen. And you may have 9 of them, 10 of them, 11 of them, 15. But with that combination, each guy's got a different combination of things, and you can be successful in different ways and doing different things. And that's what makes quarterbacking so unique and what happens. And they're all a little different in their own ways, but very successful.
On this offense, I'm so excited because you have guys who can change the game. It could be a handoff to Devon Achane. It could be a swing pass to Ainias. It could be Ainias out of the backfield. It could be Evan Stewart. There's just a game changer on that offense. Look, if you don't contain Haynes, it's nice to be able to break a game open like that.
See, what people don't realize, they talk about, all right, you got to have big plays. And everybody thinks, all right, we got to throw the ball down the field, which you do. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the great teams, if you really watch, the big plays are made within the scheme of the offense. There's slants or digs or crossing routes or flares or missed tackles. And the great teams, big runs on a normal power play or a zone play or a counter play, and there's a square in it. They can make a guy miss and score. You don't have to be a bomb down the field. But now you got to throw the ball down the field. You got to make a ball down the field. And we have guys that can go do that now. And we're throwing the ball. We have more of those in camp I think we've ever hit as far as that goes. And I was very pleased with that, making catches, making contested catches, but also running and being consistent, not thinking you're trying to throw the ball deep every time. If it's there, you have to, but then check it down. But when those guys can take the top off and push guys back, it allows for space underneath. When you hit a square in, now you got so much more room to run. Yeah. And then you can go make a big play. Or you hit a draw play, or the quarterback scrambles, or they have to play and respect that. So they have to, they can't crowd the box. And if they do, so many different things that way. But you got to make big plays. You got to have explosive plays. And we've done it, and we'll continue to do it.
I know it's week 1, but I'm going to bring up Jerry Rice. A slant to Jerry Rice was some of the best plays the 49ers ran.
Well, if you ever go back and really study the 49ers, how many times that balls were thrown over 35, 40, 45 yards is very rare. They ate you alive, but the timing and the rhythm of how they hit a slant, how they hit a vertical, how they hit the flare, created the timing and the rhythm of those things. And we're caught up. You have to throw it deep, and you do. And even back in the Cowboys, one of the greatest rhythm throwers of all time was Troy Aikman. Mm-hmm. He could plant those 18, 20-yard throws, and they'd break them and catch and run. And they would throw some go routes, occasional post routes in there. But it was a rhythm-throwing passing game that got out and it hit timing, and that's – and you hit those big plays. So there's a lot, and other teams can throw it down, but those timing and rhythm to those athletes underneath, and let them be athletes.
We've got more questions when we come back to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. Fans, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to provide a trip for 12 to the Auburn game on November 12th. To register for the 12th fan trip, visit 12thman.com/12thfan. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is a proud corporate partner of Texas A&M Athletics. We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. Presented by Capital Farm Credit, we are at Rudy's, and the questions have come in, Coach.
Uh-oh.
Wesley, class of 95, how short of a chain does QB1 have since our backups are so talented?
No. Listen, you don't give somebody a job to jerk it away from them. You got to play, and you play well, and they'll make, hopefully, no mistakes and be perfect, but you can't sit and make a guy look over his shoulder. But no, if anything ever happened that we thought the other guy could make us win the game better, we definitely would. But I'm not looking to pull the guy out of the game. I promise you that.
Right.
But at the same time, we'll do what we have to do. Whoever, and that goes for whoever. You can't.
Not just QB1.
You can have, you can't play like that and think like that. Guys got to go play and perform, but nothing's perfect in this world.
You were asked about Haynes being around the program even when he was injured. Mm-hmm. That's just him, right? That's him.
He's been a coach's son. He's been around it. And, all right, I can provide moral support. I can give knowledge. I can watch film and give my own opinion and advice. And also I'm growing as a player. I'm gaining experience from what's happening on the field here and what's going on the sideline and how my teammates are reacting. I'm also, as I'm around my teammates, I'm learning them. See, talking about leadership, you say, we got to get on somebody. Well, some guys you can't get on. Some guys you got to put your arm around. Mm-hmm. Some guys you got to talk to. So the more you're around them, you're learning their personalities and what makes them tick and what buttons it takes to push on them. There's a lot of guys on our team, man, I jump on them. Other guys I don't. And everybody, and I'm really, some guys just respond that way. You have to know whose buttons, but you got to learn those personalities. And I think he did a good job of that.
Yeah, it's just to me, the things that I look at is it's nice to be able for those quarterbacks to talk to one another. I also like the way when something happens on that field, Jimbo, you ask them a question, they immediately have that answer. Coach, this is what I saw on that play. And that's where that learning and teaching comes in, correct?
You know, that's the other part is, why did you do it? Okay, I did it. What made you see that? What angle? See, people don't realize, I mean, there's reads and there's making things, but then there's angles. The game is a game of angles. It's a game of leverage and how you see leverage, what leverage is, where it is, how you can create it, how you, when they have it, when then to get out of it, and those types of things. And then, you know, what your thought process is. That allows your decision-making to really be affected by your thought process, not the knowledge of what to do, but how you do it, how it's been explained to, and what you've been told. Mm-hmm. See, that's the other thing. That's why I laugh when people ask me to, you know, evaluate what do you think of that quarterback. I don't know. Well, you're watching the tape. You've coached him. Yeah, but I don't know how he's been coached. I don't know what he's been. Right. I don't know if he messed up. I don't know if the receiver messed up. I don't know if the offensive line messed up. I don't know if the tight end messed up. And as a quarterback, I always call them quarterbacks, say, well, you're leaders and you're men. No, you're not. You're mothers. You're really a mother when you're a quarterback. You got to clean up everybody's mess. Dad didn't clean up no messes. Mom cleaned up every mess. All right, Mom made everything right. When the lineman make it right, you're supposed to fix his problem and go ahead and get to them. When the receiver screwed up, you got to fix his problem and get to the next receiver. When the running back does that, I mean, quarterbacks are mothers, and that's why the great ones clean up everybody's messes. You don't even know how good they are. That's why people don't evaluate and can't. It's hard to really evaluate a quarterback because you don't know what's going on around that affects what he does. You know what I mean? And those great ones, when they get to that point, they see that that's coming. They see that's going to be a problem. And that knowledge just grows and grows and grows and allows you to play better and then allows you to make better decisions based off situations and things like that. People always say, well, you got to have a grown man to be a quarterback. No, you need to be a grown mom because moms fix everything. You know what I mean? They clean up after everybody, and you don't even know it. The good ones, they don't bring it out. They won't tell the guy, hey, pat him on the butt, and the guy says, hey, good job, thank you for that. Hey, that's no problem. And that's how they get taken care of, and that's what the position's like.
One huge smile in this crowd, by the way, when you said that. Very big smile.
Oh, yeah, my mom.
She is here. Wonderful that she is here.
First time she's ever been here.
First time?
Just show, yeah.
Welcome. Good. Welcome, as always.
Exactly.
When you ask the why, does that help the player process?
It does, and I can't help him unless I know why he did what he did or what he saw. You know what I mean? It's not knowledge, and it's not a cookie cutter thing to do when you teach. Kids see things different. Everybody learns different. Everybody hears different. Everybody anticipates different. Everybody, there's certain things they do, certain things they don't do well, and that's the only way you get to know them. So, you know, there's mistakes in games. I let you not call the game for them. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot that goes into that, and that's coaching. I mean, and that's playing, and that's learning, and then early, in the early stage, they're scared to tell you why, or they try to tell you what the cookie. No, I don't want to hear the notebook answer. Mm-hmm. I want to hear what happened. That's the only way we can fix it. I always say this: quarterback, when you like driving a car, it's easy. You got on that test, and there's no cars around. You get down the lane. I can look at my lane. Well, I didn't know the guy beside me was going 28 miles over the speed limit, shot in my lane. The guy coming to run the stop sign on the right. The guy in front put his brakes on. The guy behind me is going too fast. He's going to hit me in the rear end, and I got to process all those things that are going on at one time, and that's kind of what it's like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to hear your thought process and how much collectively you can be put. Some guys can manufacture multiple things. Some guys can't. And you'd be shocked at some of the greatest quarterbacks of all time couldn't handle multiple things.
Really?
I mean, their performance was great, but it got moderated to what they knew and how they know it, and that's part of it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some could handle unbelievable amounts of information. So, you know, everybody's different.
We will talk about the Aggies' opponent on Saturday, Sam Houston, when we return for our final segment of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Our final segment of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show is presented by Capital Farm Credit as we get you set for Saturday. The Aggies and Sam Houston, 11 o'clock kick. We'll join you, Dave Elmendorf, Will Johnson, and I, 10 o'clock with the St. Joseph pregame show. And, Coach, you are about to get tested on Saturday by a team at championship caliber.
Oh, they are. I mean, Coach Keel's done a tremendous job. And Sam Houston State, I mean, they got beat in the quarters last year and the year before they won the national championship. That's the first loss last year they've had in 2 years, but he's won multiple national championships. He's a great coach. They got great players. They're putting out a lot of NFL guys, and then they're recruiting well, and they're getting great transfers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that's the world they're in. And you look, I mean, new roster, new guys playing. I mean, guys that know how to win, know how to play. Very multiple on defense in their looks. I mean, from their blitz looks to their front look, the stems, the coverages. I mean, very well, do a great job. Offensively, very open. Trick plays, a lot of different things in which they do. New transfer quarterbacks, new transfer receivers. Athletic guys and major Division I players doing well. The kicking game is extremely sound, what they do, and new kicker and punter. But, I mean, They return it well. They cover well. Different kicks. I mean, this is a really good football team, man. I mean, they're ready to move up to 1A football.
Right.
And
right.
I believe it's Conference USA.
Conference USA.
Into,
yeah.
And then the conference.
That's the only reason why they're not ranked.
Yeah, they would be.
It's because they're not eligible.
There'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever. Probably one.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd be up there in the top 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, whatever it is, and what they're doing. So, I mean, a very good team. They're going to come in there and, as I always tell our players, they're trying to make a reputation off of you.
Yeah.
They're coming in there ready to play, and they're going to give you a full game, and we better be ready to get there. They're going to bring their A game. We need to bring ours.
The receivers who come back have been integral parts of those championships, so they know they've been in those moments.
Their skill guys can play, man.
Yeah,
they can. Their skill guys can play.
There's a lot of Texas kids on there, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you're in a great state. I mean, you know, you're in an FCS program, man. The number of players you can get in a state like that, being in a state like this, is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And made success. And I mean, just like Stephen Effer up the road, they got a great team too. I mean, there's a lot of great FCS teams around here, and Division II teams won national championships, and I mean, A&M Commerce and all them moving. I mean, there's so many of those players.
And in this transfer world, when you win a championship, it gets the attention.
Oh, it does. You want to go somewhere else, you're going to move down, you're going to go over somewhere, you're going to go play for a champion. So.
Yeah, absolutely. But as we talked before, it's about Texas A&M on Saturday.
Well, exactly right, and that's not any disrespect to your opponent. That's all you can control.
Right.
You got to control what you can control, and that's how you play and the things you do, and how you go about your business. And, you know, you got to have a standard in which you got to go, and then that standard can be competition of it. You got to raise it and push it and whatever that takes to go. But you got to have, again, believe in yourself, confidence in yourself to do the things in which you have to do. And, you know, the keys to it's going to be the same. I mean, turnovers are always a big key, big plays, making them on offense, not giving them up on that side, being great on third down, understanding your red zone conversions, your tight zone conversions, your goal line short yardage situations. You know, the physicality of the offensive lines, not having the self-inflicted wounds with penalties. You know, not having the kicking game being sound, not having bad substitution issues, not having this issue, not having that. I mean, playing a clean game and, you know, not putting yourself behind the 8 ball. And then, listen, you better expect one thing. It's going to be a great game.
Yep.
And so you got to be ready for the adversity and the things that go on and be ready to go and play a great game.
As always, thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Great to be with everybody. Great to start the year off. Gig 'em.
Tony O'Neill is the producer, the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, and all our shows on the Texas A&M Sports Network. Kevin Menchow is our engineer. For head coach Jimbo Fisher, I'm Andrew Monaco. Thanks so much. This is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. We'll see you Saturday. Thanks and gig 'em. This is Aggie Football from Learfield.